You are a broken soldier, a decorated captain who has run out of reasons to live. Your country wants to sell rifles to an empire you know nothing about, and you are the weapon they are selling alongside them. Right now, you are standing in front of a crowd in San Francisco, drunk, shaking, reciting a battle you wish you could forget. The lights above the stage are too bright, and your mouth is too dry, and you smile anyway, because smiling is the last performance left to you. You describe the charge, the glory, the decisive American cavalry. The crowd applauds, and you feel nothing except the familiar warmth of the flask inside your coat. The weapons merchant finds you afterward, clean-suited and careful, and he speaks of Japan the way men speak of money, as if it were already his. He wants you to train an imperial conscript army in the use of modern rifles, and what he offers is enough to buy your presence, if not your interest. You have no family waiting, no cause worth the trouble of saying no, so you say yes the way a man says yes to the next drink. Automatically, without looking at what's in the glass. The ocean crossing takes weeks, and you spend most of it below deck, watching the porthole fill and empty with gray Pacific sky. By the time Japan appears on the horizon, low and green and rimmed with fog, you feel the strange unsteadiness of a man who has traveled far without going anywhere. The conscripts are farmers and fishermen in ill-fitting uniforms, and they hold their rifles the way men hold things they do not understand and do not trust. The interpreter, a slight, precise man who weighs every translated word before releasing it, stands at your elbow and works to make your commands land without bruising. Tell them to keep the barrel up. They understand, Captain. They don't understand, not yet, and you watch them flinch at the sound of their own weapons, and you think that you are building something that will get men killed before it saves anyone. The weapons merchant moves through the capital with the confidence of a man who has already decided how history will go, currying favor with ministers, promising the emperor a modern army by spring. He wants the samurai rebels suppressed before the new year, before the foreign investors grow nervous, and the timeline he has chosen has nothing to do with whether the men are ready. The order comes before your conscripts can load a rifle without being shown, and you ride out anyway because the order is the order, and you are still, at the bottom of everything, a soldier. The forest road is narrow, and the trees press close on both sides, and the light falls in broken pieces through the canopy above, and nothing about this feels right. Hold. The first arrow comes from nowhere, and then there are riders everywhere. Men in lacquered armor on horses moving faster than they should be able to move through trees, and the conscripts break. You are shouting, and your voice does not carry, and the formation dissolves, and men run in every direction, and there is nothing left to command, only survive. You fire, reload, fire again, and around you the Imperial soldiers are falling and scattering and screaming, and the forest swallows the sound of it and gives nothing back. One of the warriors goes down from your shot, a man whose face you see clearly, a man with calm eyes. And you understand too late that killing him was a mistake you will be asked to carry. Then the horses surround you, and the sky above is all that is left, and a blow comes that ends everything you know. You wake in a room made of wood and paper, snow light coming through the screens, and you are a prisoner, though no one has chained you or told you so. The village is quiet in the way that places far from the world are quiet. Children, smoke, the sound of practice swords in a courtyard, meals eaten in careful order. The woman who tends your wounds does not look at you directly, and you understand from the interpreter that her husband is the warrior you killed. You sit with that knowledge the way you sit with cold. There is nothing to be done about it, and it does not go away. The samurai leader comes to see you when you are strong enough to sit upright, a lean man with a watchful quality, as if he is always reading something just beyond what he is looking at. You fought well. He says it without flattery, the way a man states a fact about weather, and you feel seen in a way that you have not felt in years. The hostile warrior, scarred, scornful, with the contempt for you written openly across his face, takes it upon himself to make your captivity instructive. He finds you in the courtyard every morning before the cold has lifted, and he attacks without announcement, and the first 20 times he puts you on the ground before you have finished waking up. The children watch from the corridor, hands over their mouths, and you wipe snow from your face and stand again because there is nothing else to do in a place where everything is done with discipline or not at all. Again, you don't sleep well, not the nightmares you brought from America, which are old and worn smooth by repetition, but a new restlessness, as if something inside you is rearranging furniture in the dark. The village does not hurry. Everything here has a form. The way tea is made, the way rice is eaten, the way a sword is worn, the way a man bows to another man. And the forms are not decorative. They are the thing itself. You begin to watch more carefully than you intended to. The samurai leader takes walks in the snow, and you are permitted to join him, and he asks questions the way men in this country seem to do everything, without apparent urgency and with full attention. He asks about the great American chiefs you fought under. He asks about the men you helped defeat. He asks these things with the same steadiness he brings to everything, and you answer honestly because dishonesty seems to cost more energy than you have. Do you believe in your emperor? I don't believe in much. He considers this and nods, and the snow keeps falling, and you walk back in silence that does not feel empty. The woman whose husband you killed begins to leave things at your threshold. A folded robe, a bowl of something hot, without ceremony and without forgiveness, because forgiveness is not what she is offering. What she is offering is harder than forgiveness, the practical extension of care to someone who has earned none of it. You wear the robe. The hostile warrior eventually stops putting you on the ground every morning, not because he respects you, that comes later, but because you have stopped being someone it is easy to put on the ground. The cold deepens and then slowly, incrementally begins to release, and the village moves through the change the way it moves through everything, with attention and without complaint. You understand, by the time the snow begins to melt at the edges of the eaves, that you have been waiting your whole life to be in a place that asks something real of you. When spring makes the mountain pass navigable again, the samurai leader arranges your return to the capital, and the morning you leave, the village lines the path and you do not know what to do with your hands. The woman looks at you once before you ride directly, and it is not softness in her face. It is something more durable than softness. The capital is noise and carriages and men in Western suits arguing in hallways, and it hits you like a smell. The smell of a world that has decided what it is going to be and is impatient with anything that slows it down. The weapons merchant has been busy in your absence. New guns have arrived, the conscripts have been drilled by other instructors, and a political calendar has been built around the suppression of the rebellion before summer. He wants you to lead the assault on the mountain, and he smiles when he says it, and the smile reaches his eyes, and that is what makes it frightening. The American officers who came with the new rifles are useful and efficient, and they look at Japan the way the weapons merchant looks at it, as a problem with a technical solution. You sit with the emperor for a brief audience, and he is younger than you expected. A young man carrying an enormous inherited weight, surrounded by men who have already decided what he should decide. He asks you about the samurai leader, genuinely, with a curiosity that has not yet been processed into policy, and you tell him that the man is the most formidable soldier you have ever encountered. The weapons merchant watches this exchange from the far end of the room, and the stillness in his face is the stillness of a man recalculating. You return to your quarters and sit with the sword you brought back from the mountains. A loan, the interpreter said, not a gift. And you know what you are going to do before you have finished thinking it through. Not yet. There is no noble speech, no formal announcement. You simply ride toward the mountain again, because the capital is full of men who have given up something true for something profitable, and you have already done that once and know where it goes. The samurai leader receives you with no visible surprise, as if he has been expecting you, or as if surprise is a cost he has long since decided not to pay. You have come back, he says. I have, you replied. The samurai know what is coming. The rifles, the artillery, the Gatling guns the weapons merchant purchased from American manufacturers. And they know what it means, and they prepare anyway. The hostile warrior sharpens blades with the same focused contempt he brings to everything. And now some of that contempt is transmuted into something that functions, in him, like acceptance. The samurai leader sits in meditation in the hours before dawn, and you sit nearby, and neither of you speaks, and the silence is the conversation. You put on the armor that is laid out for you, layered, lacquered, heavier than it looks, and you buckle it piece by piece in the dark, and the weight is not unpleasant. There is a field below the mountain, and the Imperial Army is already assembling on it, small and systematic in the early morning mist, and the Gatling guns are visible even at this distance, bolted to their wheeled carriages, waiting. The samurai leader rides to the front of the line and says something to his men, and you do not need the interpreter, because you understand it in the way you understand music, not word by word, but all at once. Then he looks at you, and what passes between you is not sentiment. It is recognition. Two men who have found at the last possible moment a thing worth riding toward. The charge begins. The horses hit the open ground and the air comes apart around you. Wind and hooves and the collective forward momentum of men who have made their decision and are past reconsidering it. The first volley from the rifles tears into the line and men go down and the horses behind them do not slow. There is no room to slow and no reason that would matter here. You stay low against the horse's neck and the ground blurs below you and the imperial line grows from a distant arrangement of shapes into individual faces, wide-eyed, lifting rifles. The samurai reach the line and it breaks, and the fighting becomes close and loud and entirely intimate. Every exchange decided in the space between two people. No distance, no abstraction. The hostile warrior fights with a fury that is also a kind of grace, and you fight beside him, and the word beside means something now that it did not mean in San Francisco. Then the Imperial commanders give the order you have been dreading. The Gatling guns swing toward the field, and their operators begin to turn the handles, and the sound is unlike anything that has happened here before. The samurai do not retreat. You watch it happen, and it is both terrible and something else. Something that has no name in the language you grew up in. A refusal so complete it becomes its own kind of answer. Hold. The samurai leader is hit. Once, twice, and his horse goes down, and he does not go down with it. He keeps moving, on foot, sword still in hand, until he cannot. You reach him where he falls, in the open field, while the guns are still firing at the men behind you, and you go down beside him, and the ground is cold and damp, and the sky above is enormous. He is looking at the sky. Is it a good death? You cannot answer that, not honestly. So you take his hand and look where he is looking, at the light coming through the clouds above the field, and he says something you will spend the rest of your life trying to keep. Perfect. They are all perfect. He is gone before the guns stop. The field goes quiet in the way that only fields that have just held battles go quiet. Completely, suddenly, as if the world is embarrassed by what just happened and is trying to compose itself. You are the one walking across it when the Imperial soldiers lower their rifles, and you are bleeding and still armored and carrying the samurai leader's sword in both hands. The weapons merchant is in the throne room when you arrive, positioned where he always positions himself, at the elbow of power, near enough to advise, far enough to deny. You walk past him. You kneel before the Emperor and place the sword on the floor between you and bow your head, and the room is very still. The Emperor is looking at the sword, and the sword is speaking for everyone who is no longer here to speak, and whatever the young man was going to sign, whatever trade agreement, whatever modern concession, you can see him reconsidering it. He picks up the sword, he bows, not to you, to what the sword carries. And what it carries is the question of whether a nation can modernize without first amputating itself, and the Emperor, for this one moment, refuses to answer quickly. The weapons merchant says nothing, which is the loudest thing he has done. You ride out of the capital as the morning is coming up, and no one stops you, and no one follows, and the road runs north toward the mountains. The armor is gone. You are in a simple robe now, the one she left at your threshold, and the horse knows the pace you need without being told. Behind you, the city is becoming what it is going to be, with all the noise and speed and appetite that entails, and ahead of you is whatever the mountains still hold. You are not going back. You are going forward, toward the only place you ever felt the full weight of what you were, which is the only thing a man who has been running for a long time can call home.